and welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk. It is June 30th, 2019. I am your boy, KP. This is Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. Hope everybody's doing good. You know, we're kind of in that only got baseball to watch, maybe watching some World Cup. I was watching some Prefontaine Classic today. Not a lot going on. Hockey's wrapped up. The NBA's wrapped up. Football is kind of out there. We've got free agency kicking off. We'll talk a little bit about that, more on the NBA side again than the NHL side. I don't have a lot of expertise to offer on that side. I know there's some clubs out there that have some money. I know there's a few big names that I've been hearing other people talk about, but nothing I can really add to that conversation, so let's be real. I'm not going to. So we'll talk a little bit about this NBA situation. I've got my top 5 and bottom 5 secondaries in the NFL this week. Last week, if you guys listened, we ran into some technical difficulties again, and these continue to happen randomly on our live shows, not on our pre-recorded shows, so we've got a little bit of a different setup today. We're trying a live show, we're testing some stuff, seeing if we're having the same problems with our live stuff. If that turns out to be the case until we have it solved, we will be stopping the live shows and going ahead and pre-recording all of our material for the show. But that's kind of what happened last week with the linebacker discussion. So this week we got the top 5 and bottom 5 secondaries. We're going to talk NBA free agency scenarios and stuff that's going on around there. We hear Kevin Durant, he's supposed to make his decision later today on his company's sports network. We're hearing the Celtics might be involved in a 3-team trade, Kyrie and Kimba and Terry Rozier, to get all of those players to the places we've heard them talked about. And then Jeremy Bergman on NFL.com had just kind of a fun article he wrote, NFL records to be broken in 2019. So we'll talk a little bit about that article as well, talk about some of the records, some of the points he made, and what it actually took some of these guys to get there, what it means to get to some of these, one of these records that Jeremy Bergman brings up in his article that's on NFL.com right now if you want to go check it out and read it. So let's start off with the top 5 and bottom 5 secondaries in the league. Again, this is just for fun. This is not how they're going to rank out for everybody. And I told you how obligatory even my findings are as I rank them out with the system I put together to rank them. Because I'm finding secondaries and teams and players and situations that I if I was ranking them differently, they wouldn't be in this position. But here, just as a quick reminder, here is what I based my rankings on, okay? So I go through by division. I have all 8 divisions, the NFC and the AFC side. I've laid out for the secondaries your cornerback group, your safety group, and your key depth that could be coming in at one of those groups. Based on that, in your division, you get a ranking of 1 through 4. At each of those categories are averaged out, divided by 3. I get your final score. Those final scores go to decide if you are ranked in the ones, like you're first in your division, second in your division, third in your division, fourth in your division. I then have taken those teams and grouped them up by first, second, third, and fourth because of the scores they got in my obligatory system of ranking the top 5 and bottom 5 secondaries in the NFL. After I have those groups put together, I rank out them 1 through 8 within the group. The 1s are 1 through 8, the 2s are 9 through 16, the 3s are 17 through 24, and the 4s are 25 through 32, giving my 32 teams my top 5 and my bottom 5 in that department. So, as I go through the divisions, I started with the NFC North. I ranked out those teams. My rankings for the teams in the NFC North are as follows. Best secondaries. This includes safeties, corners, and depth at the position. I have Detroit followed by Minnesota, Chicago, and Green Bay bringing up the rear. I have Detroit at first because they have competitiveness at the cornerback position with everybody else that is in the division. At the safety position, again, Tracy Walker as a rookie last year made great strides. Quandre Diggs is one of the most underrated players at the position in the NFL, and they have the most depth at the position in the division. This is something Detroit has. It's depth. They're built with depth players. They're not built with a lot of star players. A lot of their core, a lot of their team is built up of these guys that would be depth on just about any roster. So they win the depth. They're second at safeties and corners. Ultimately, their score averages out to a 1.66. They get number one in the division. Yes, I know they don't have the best player at every position. This is the group. NFC South, I have Atlanta, followed by New Orleans, followed by Carolina, followed by Tampa Bay. Now, going into it, I thought, oh, this is easy. New Orleans is going to get this. They've got Lattimore. And then I kind of struggled. Who else does New Orleans have? They have Von Bell. They have Marcus Williams. Eli Apple. Patrick Robinson's getting a little long. But they do have some depth on their team. They added Kayvon Webster, P.J. Williams, Justin Hardy, Ken Crawley, Marcus Sherrills, guys like that. So that got New Orleans to 2. Atlanta, ultimately, I liked Atlanta. I liked Isaiah Oliver coming out of Colorado. I think he was a great pickup. I think he's going to be a nice starter for 10 years in the league. You pair him with Desmond Trufant, DeMonte Kazee. You got Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen on the back end. You bring in Kendall Sheffield, Jason Staley, and J.J. Wilcox. That's a solid secondary for Atlanta. Going down to the NFC East, I've got Philadelphia, followed by Dallas, followed by the Giants, and Washington bringing up the rear. You look at Philadelphia's secondary, Ronald Darby, Jalen Mills, Sidney Jones. All quality, Pro Bowl probable players. Not perennial Pro Bowlers, not all pros, but solid at what they do. They're going to make more plays or stop more plays than they give up. You go to their back end at safety with Rodney McLeod and Malcolm Jenkins. You're very solid there at those positions at the safety. And then they have Rasul Douglas and Andrew Sendejo they bring over from Minnesota and as key backup players. Just outdoing the rest of the division as far as their secondary. Now, Washington, they bring over Landon Collins. They had Josh Norman, who I've never really been big on. They bring in a Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, basically out of retirement, a JoJo McIntosh in the draft. They've got some players. Dallas, I like Chidobe Awuzie. I like Byron Jones. I don't really like their back end. Some depth. They bring over George Iloka. Bring in the rookie Mike Jackson Sr. I like DeAndre Baker there for the Giants. Janoris Jenkins, we'll see what he brings. Safety group, Antoine Bethea and Jabril Peppers could be a little slow at the safety position. So ultimately, Philadelphia takes the NFC East. NFC West. This one, again, you might think, oh, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib. But who else do they have? So I have Arizona as the number one secondary in the NFC West, followed by the Rams, followed by Seattle, and San Francisco coming in last, in the NFC West. And you look at who Arizona's rolling out. Robert Alford, solid corner. Patrick Peterson, yes, he's suspended, but still one of the best corners in the NFL. And you bring in Byron Murphy, a rookie. You have Budda Baker and DJ Swearinger on the back end. You have Tremaine Brock as a veteran key role player. LA, I'm not a big fan of Nicole Roby-Coleman. Marcus Peters, he's hit and miss. He's either going to make the big play or give up the big play. Aqib Talib, one of the best corners in the NFL. Eric Weddle, back-end guy, okay, has been good, has been all-pro worthy, has been Pro Bowl worthy, but we know he's coming to the end of his career. Can Wade Phillips take advantage of what Eric Weddle brings to the table and maximize what he has left, putting him next to John Johnson III? Dominic Hatfield, Troy Hill, Taylor Rapp, not a lot there on the back end for them. AFC North. We're on the AFC side now. AFC North, coming into all my rankings, I didn't expect Baltimore to be ranking out very highly at all because of how many defensive players they lost. Surprisingly, so far, they are ranking out very well for me. In the AFC North, I have Baltimore winning it, followed by Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati bringing up the rear. So why Baltimore? Well, look at their corners. Jimmy Smith, big, physical, long, will make a play, will compete even if he gets the PI. Marlon Humphrey, coming out of Alabama, didn't really know what to expect, has been solid for the Baltimore Ravens. Brandon Carr, veteran, leadership, has seen it, can explain it, can teach it. Tony Jefferson, Earl Thomas at the back end might be the best safety group in the NFL if they play at their level. If Earl Thomas is back to Earl Thomas, if Tony Jefferson can get rejuvenated a little bit playing next to an Earl Thomas. And then Justin Bethel and Cyrus Jones as their backup. It's amazing how Baltimore can stay good on the defensive side of the ball. On the AFC South, I've got Tennessee, followed by Indianapolis, followed by Jacksonville, followed by Houston, who, again, I'm thinking, okay, Houston, but they've lost so many players recently, they don't really have a lot on the back end. Tennessee, they came in first in the division, and they've got absolutely no depth, really, that I'm concerned about or looking forward to seeing play. Of course, these guys can always go out and make a name for themselves. Of course, there's going to be guys you don't know the names of. The film doesn't jump out at you. But you look at what they're rolling out there with Kenny Vaccaro and Kevin Barrett at the safety position. Again, could argue best safety duo in the NFL. Malcolm Butler, Logan Ryan, Adoree Jackson. You've got all kind of corner that you could want at the corner position. Long, big, physical, fast. Can cover inside, outside, deep, short, intermediate routes. They're covered. Tennessee takes the AFC South. Indianapolis, they're coming up on the heels. They're starting to make a lot of adjustments there in Indianapolis. You've got to like what they're doing. Jacksonville really doesn't have anything in depth position or at the safety, even though they have A.J. Boy, Jalen Ramsey. They bring in a D.J. Hayden to kind of be that nickel next corner. And Houston's depleted at the position right now. AFC East, I've got New England, followed by Miami, who's come in dead last in the first two categories. Miami gets second in the secondary in the AFC East, slightly over Buffalo, just because I like a little bit more of the youth of what's going on there than what's going on in Buffalo. It was a coin flip. I could argue Buffalo is better than Miami just because of Darius White. And then the Jets, even though they have Jamal Adams, still trying to build up what that secondary is. They're stronger at the linebacker and defensive line positions than they are in the secondary right now. That's just a matter of fact. But New England rolls out Stephon Gilmore, Jason McCourty, who's not the fastest, not the best, but he's a smart veteran, and Jonathan Jones. Patrick Chung, Devin McCourty, Jason's brother on the back end, solid, knowledgeable veteran players who know that system and know exactly what Coach Belichick wants them to get done. And then you bring in Nate Ebner with his rugby background, tenacity, willing to just do the dirty work, and who knows what they're going to be able to get over Obi Melifonwu. He busted out in Oakland, got picked up by New England. We'll see if they can turn him into a player. His physical athleticism and traits are amazing. So if there's anybody who's going to get something little out of this guy, it's going to be the New England Patriots. AFC West, I've got Denver, followed by the Chargers, followed by Oakland, with Kansas City bringing up the rear in the West. Yes, they bring in Tyrann Mathieu. Okay, great. They've got Tyrann Mathieu. Okay, Kendall Fuller, Kyle's little brother, or big brother nonetheless. Okay player. Brashad Breeland, okay player. Charvarius Ward, okay player. Juan Thornhill, okay player. Daniel Sorensen makes a play here and there when you don't expect him to. Armand Watts, again, okay player. Not what you're seeing when you want a top defense there for what it is for Kansas City. Now, Denver, on the other hand, they have Chris Harris Jr., who I consider one of the best corners in the league, who I have considered one of the best corners in the league, who I had people that I know say my football card is pulled because I told them, go back and look at Chris Harris Jr. He's easily one of the top three corners in the league and has been for years. Now, none of them want to talk to me about that because they know I'm right. It took them a while to come around, but they saw that I was right. They still have Kareem Jackson, who's got some years on him, but he's a solid, knowledgeable veteran. They bring in Bryce Callahan, who knows the new defense. They're young on the safety side with Will Park and Justin Simmons. But then you look at their secondary: Devontae Bowsby, Isaac Yadam, Jamal Carter, Suel Cravens, DeMonte Thomas, Shamarko Thomas. Most of those are safeties, I know. That means you can mix and match packages. You can come with blitzes that the offense doesn't know how to control. So Denver wins the AFC East. The Chargers coming in right behind them. I really like what the Chargers got going on. with Casey Hayward, Desmond King, Michael Davis. You got Derwin James and Jalen Watkins, Brandon Faison, Nazir Adderley, the rookie, Rashawn Jenkins, Adrian Phillips, Adris Pickett. So the Chargers are no slouch at that position either. Okay? So, all that said, you've heard who they are. This is the ones, twos, threes, and fours. You know, the top five are coming out of the ones. You know, the bottom five are coming out of the fours. But this is how they broke down. The team that won each division, recap: Detroit, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Arizona, Baltimore, Tennessee, New England, and Denver were the teams that came in first in their respective divisions. The teams that came in second: Minnesota, New Orleans, Dallas, the Rams, Cleveland, Indianapolis, Miami, and the Chargers. Third place teams: Chicago, Carolina, Giants, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Oakland, and bringing up the rear for their divisions: Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Washington, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Houston, the New York Jets, and the Kansas City Chiefs. So, ranking them 1 through 32, my top 5 out of that ones group are the Baltimore Ravens at 1. I'm starting with the best. They got the best overall secondary, bringing in Earl Thomas with the size, athleticism, and physicality they already play with. Is going to do nothing but make that secondary better and be able to take advantage of whatever kind of pass rush they do get from that front seven. Philadelphia Eagles, second best overall secondary in the NFL. Arizona Cardinals, third. Denver Broncos, fourth. And the Detroit Lions coming in fifth. Now, what do those teams have in common that are in that? They've got quality starters at the positions. They've got youth, and they've got depth. They may not have the best at everything at those three, but they have all three of those things going for their team. And again, I know how obligatory this is. It's a random way of deciding who's the best and who's the worst and who's in the middle. But this is what it came out with. This is the numbers. This is how it ranks. Bottom 5 teams, because I'm not going to give you all 32 in order. If you want, well, actually I will. After I give the bottom 5, I'll go 1 through 32 in order just to give a quick rundown. I'm getting some notifications, so we must have some NBA stuff going down and some more rumors coming out before it kicks off here in about an hour, actually. Bottom 5 teams. At 28, you got Green Bay, 29, Cincinnati, 30, San Francisco, 31, Tampa Bay, and 32, Kansas City. So what do those teams have in common? They don't have a lot of veteran leadership. They are young. They are unproven. They don't have a lot of depth. They're looking for players. They might have a guy or two, but they're looking to try and figure it out. And that's ultimately what everybody in my bottom 5 and top 5 comes down to. If you look at all of my rankings, 1 through 32, you go Baltimore, Philadelphia, Arizona, Denver, Detroit, Atlanta, New England, Tennessee, the Rams, the Chargers. That's your top 10. All of them have multiple guys that start well. All of them have multiple guys that could be Pro Bowlers. All of them have pretty much either depth at the position or are very, very solid at the position. Then 11 through 20, you've got New Orleans, Minnesota, Dallas, Indianapolis, Miami, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Chicago, Buffalo, and the Giants. You look at those teams, you're going to see some veteran leadership there. You're going to see some guys that have been there and done it, some guys that have been in Pro Bowls. You probably won't find too many all-pro type guys or guys that have had an all-pro season. But you're also not going to find a lot of depth. You're not going to find guys that are consistently at that level or currently are at the top of their position. Then you go 21 through 32. Carolina, Oakland, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Houston, the Jets, Washington, Green Bay, Cincinnati, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, and Kansas City. Again, you might have a guy who's a veteran leader who could be a great coach one day, might be a coach on the field, suffered injuries, still, playing. You might have some young guys whose players are high on. You might have some guys who once were. But ultimately, that set of teams, they're looking for help. They have a lot of guys on their roster, but nobody who's really stepping up at this point. And again, this is pre-camp. This is an obligatory rating. This is me being objective and doing what I think. But to me, those teams are lacking. They're missing. They're going to be the teams who you're going to be able to take advantage of in the passing game this season. So those are my top 5, bottom 5 secondaries in the NFL. Hate me, love me, disagree with me. Get at me. RealDealSportsTalkWithKP.com. There's a big link. It says get at KP. If you want me to get back at you, you can leave your email address. Maybe I'll put you on the show. All right, so phone's blowing up. We're getting notifications. There's probably things going on with the NBA free agency. Again, NHL free agency starts here in a little bit. Yeah, we got free agency special going on. It looks like Kevin Durant is more than likely going to the Nets. Kyrie Irving going to the Nets, so they're going to team up there. That's a sad day for the Knicks. They can't get with a team. The Nets are also going to get DeAndre Jordan, so you got a big man, you've got your center, you've got your scorer, you got your point guard, and then you've got your freaking Kevin Durant coming back in a year. As we know, he's not going to be playing this year. So, again, these are verbal agreements ranging in the $140 to $220 million range, depending on the team, depending on their years of service, if they were on an all-pro team, all of those things that go into deciding what their max contracts can be. So I don't personally have a problem with teams making super teams. I want to see the best talent playing together. I don't want to see rinky-dink teams floating in mediocrity, teams that are horrible, play basketball, football, baseball, hockey, soccer, fencing, checkers. I want to see the best play. And if the best can be on the best teams, great. Stop hating because it's not your team they want to come to. Because if it was, you'd be excited, you'd be jumping up and down, and you'd be screaming and laughing and cheering and pointing it out to everybody who doesn't root for your squad. And that's real. So me personally, I like seeing the better players team up, be super teams. I don't care that the players are now dictating that instead of team management. Because that's how super teams were put together before, and nobody had a problem with the Lakers. Nobody had a problem with the Celtics. Nobody had a problem with the Houston Rockets or the Chicago Bulls doing it. Because team management brought those players there. Those players didn't team up. Well, get off your high horse. It's okay for the players to have the same kind of power and try and play where they want to play just as much as the owners and GMs can decide how they want to build a team. It doesn't always work out that these players get what they want when they're building these teams anyway. And to the NHL players, go get that money. And I hope your team gets better. I really don't know what else to say about the NHL free agency. It's going to be exciting for hockey fans, I know. But for me, the second and third tier NBA players, the way these teams are going to be rounded out, how the Lakers are going to fill their roster knowing they only have 3 players on the team right now, that's what I'm looking to see. So yeah, we've seen all the rumors coming out, which makes way for the possibility of talking drama until we get to the July 6th signing day. Because these contracts, these deals we're starting to hear about, they can't be signed until July 6th. This is like a legal tampering period. You're allowed to meet with people, get that verbal agreement in place, and then come July 6th, hopefully everything goes your organization's way and the player shows up and signs the deal. Anything can happen. We can have mega drama coming out of all these rumors. Right now, it seems like Kevin Durant's going to get this 4-year, $140-something million to join Kyrie, to join DeAndre Jordan as part of the Brooklyn Nets. Well, guess what, New York Knicks fans? That means nobody's coming to your team. That means James Dolan, your owner, is once again becoming the sole reason nobody wants to come play in the Mecca. Nobody wants to come play in Madison Square Garden and put on that historic uniform of the New York Knicks. The Brooklyn Nets have passed you for superiority in the city of New York. The team from New Jersey that used to be a laughingstock has passed you over the last 20 years in every feasible form of basketball. Ownership, management, players, accomplishments, playoff wins, regular season victories, finals appearances. The New York Knickerbockers are going to be over with big-time free agents in this free agency period. Kawhi's not going to the Knicks by himself. If he's going to stay in the East, it's going to be with Toronto. I don't see him going to Philadelphia. I don't see him going anywhere else in the East. He's either going to Toronto in the East or he's going to a Western Conference team. Since KD apparently is not going to the Clippers, I don't see Kawhi going to the Clippers to be part of what's going on there. They don't have enough right now. They're a team that tried to dump cap to get in a position for max free agents that it looks like they're not getting. Now, LA, can they bring in Kawhi? Are they going to bring in D'Angelo Russell? You can't bring in both unless D'Angelo Russell's not going to make max money. I know he's looking for max money. Look at the year he just had. You want him to come back to LA after sending him out, he's going to want max money to come back and do that. You can't get both of those players. You brought in Anthony Davis in the trade. You've got LeBron on a max deal. You've got to be able to fill a team. So which one of those guys does LA really go for? I say they should go for Kawhi and then build their team with some players like a Danny Green, like a Trevor Ariza, some guys like that you can round out your roster and not be hurt at any time if you've got to have one or two of those superstars off the floor at the same time. Jimmy Butler. Rumors are Rockets. Rumors are Miami Heat. Apparently this guy isn't really focused on winning. Miami's going to still be in the bottom half of the Eastern Conference. The Rockets, with what's going on there, trading away Clint Capella, who was their force in the middle. Nene Alario, he exercised his option to leave the team to become a free agent. James Harden and Chris Paul, they might have beef even though they do commercials. And Jimmy Butler's got the rep of blowing up everything he goes into. I personally would like to see Jimmy in a different situation than Houston and Miami, but not my situation to decide. Kemba Walker, he's going to the Celtics. Again, now they're trying to work it out to where Kemba gets traded to the Celtics, Kyrie gets traded to the Nets, and Terry Rozier gets traded to the Hornets. That's a possibility for that scenario. It's also a possibility that doesn't happen because Kemba's already agreed with the Celtics. Kyrie's already agreed with the Nets. They don't need to go be part of a sign and trade situation. That really only benefits Terry Rozier because he gets to go directly to the Hornets. Klay Thompson, he should be back hopefully by the All-Star break next season. He re-ups with Golden State more than likely today. Again, nothing official yet as free agency doesn't really kick off for about another 45 minutes. But more than likely with the injury, Klay Thompson stays in Golden State, comes back towards the end of next season. Golden State's probably sitting at a 6th or 7th seed around the time he comes back. Maybe they get to the 4th or 5th seed. I don't see them being one of the top 3 seeds in the West after losing what looks like Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson for next season. D'Angelo Russell, more than likely, the Nets are going to let him out of his restricted free agency. He'll become unrestricted. Could be a target for Lakers. More than likely becomes a top target at the point guard position for a few other teams as well. That brings us to Kawhi. He's the best free agent on the list. He's not injured. He just took a team to a title. He won Finals MVP. He's come back from all of his issues that he had there in San Antonio to prove his naysayers wrong, to do what other players have not been able to do. So where does Kawhi go? Does he go to the Clippers still? He has a meeting with the Knicks, which I don't see. Toronto, to me right now for Kawhi, it's coming down to Toronto and LA. These are the two teams I said it would come down to anyway. He was either going to win and want to stay in Toronto because it went well, because the organization was well run, because they had a focus and a future now, or ultimately his goal was always to get to the Lakers, and if they come with the right deal, he's just going to go there anyway. If the Lakers don't come with the right deal, if he's not feeling it when they meet, and he said he wants to meet with Jeannie Buss and Magic can't be there officially on behalf of the Lakers, but maybe he could be there as Kawhi's guest just to be a sounding board. I don't know how that's going to work. But if the Lakers don't come with an offer that gets Kawhi to LA, he's going to re-sign with Toronto. There's no reason to leave Toronto. Marc Gasol just re-ups. You can bring Danny Green back. The rest of that team is pretty much going to be there. The East did not get that much stronger. Milwaukee's not getting stronger. They could lose a Chris Middleton. Um, Nikola Mikriak. He's leaving the NBA to go to Barcelona. They're giving him 6 years, 79 million. He wasn't getting an offer here in the NBA that was more than like the 40 to 50 million dollar range. So he's skipping town. Derrick Rose looks like he's more likely going to the Pistons on a 2-year deal. The Knicks, just so they can have enough salary cap spent, are looking to maybe sign Boogie Cousins if all else fails to a 1-year deal that's going to be worth a lot of money, just so they can have a player they can give enough money to spend the minimum in salary cap. Because nobody wants to go play there. If I'm DeMarcus Cousins, I'm not taking the Knicks offer. I'm getting a 2, 3, 4-year deal with the most money from whoever will give it. More than likely, I'm trying to stay with Golden State because I know Kevin Durant's gone. I know Clay's out. That means I'm going to get more opportunities next year with Golden State to do like a 25-12 type guy per night, which is totally in his realm of possibility. Be able to dish and play off of Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green. They would still have enough going there if they keep Boogie in town. DeMarcus, excuse me. Jonas Valanciunas, he re-signs with Memphis. Terry Rozier again, we'll see what happens with him. Demarius Randall's out there. Carmelo Anthony, where does he go? What happens with Chris Paul? Does he get traded? Does he get released? Tobias Harris, quality player out there, could give you like a 20-8 type guy really quick. And then Dwight Powell, he is also apparently going to re-sign with Mavs right now, and they have a lot of space. Surprised their name's not coming up more often with what's going on there. So that's kind of where we're at. You got about 40 minutes until free agency kicks off and some of these verbal agreements start to, really kick in. Then July 6th, the official contracts will be signed and some of these players will officially be off the market. A lot to happen between now and then. A lot of free agent players out there. Those are just some of the bigger names that have been floating around. And my thoughts on it. But it's going to be exciting to watch. It'll be fun. Another thing that was fun, I came across this article on NFL.com today, actually, by Jeremy Bergman. NFL records to be broken in 2019. We've got about 12 minutes to get through this, so I might jump through Jeremy's article a little quick, but we'll see how it goes. First record he talks about is a career passing touchdown mark of 539. Current record holder is Peyton Manning. There's 2 people who challenged that record this year in Drew Brees and Tom Brady. Drew Brees is only 19 touchdowns away, and Tom Brady is 22 touchdowns away. So barring injury, both of these players should pass that mark this year as they go on to basically whoever has the last season of those 2 will be the final record holder. Again, barring any kind of injury that keeps them from even doing their career average per season. He goes on to career passing attempts, 10,169, held by Brett Favre. Challenger this year, Drew Brees. Brees needs 387 pass attempts to pass up Favre on the all-time list. While in New Orleans, Drew Brees has averaged 420.1 completions. Not attempts, but completions per season. So that would put him well past the 387 attempts he would need to pass Favre. Now this one, I think, Jeremy, and if you look at those, that's just a matter of being good for a really long time for both of those first 2. For Drew Brees and Tom Brady to be in that category with a Peyton Manning, with a Brett Favre, that's longevity, that's consistency, that's competitiveness, want to, and love of the game. Those numbers are astounding. And we could see them fall in this pass-happy version of football that we're in right now, sure. But everything's circular. We could come back to a running game real quick. Single season receptions. This one, okay, it's kind of like a guess who might do it. He goes with Michael Thomas to beat Marvin Harrison's single season record of 143. Michael Thomas did have 125 last year. Now that only puts him 18 away from tying the record, 19 away from breaking it. Jeremy goes on to talk about how they have Jared Cook. They didn't really add any secondary top quality receivers outside of an Alvin Kamara, so a lot of targets could still go Michael Thomas's way. I personally don't think Michael Thomas is the kind of receiver to get this record. He's going to have games where he'll have 15, 18, 16 catches in a game. Sure. Most of the time, Michael Thomas, he's going to have 7, 8, 9 catches in the game, which is great. Don't get me wrong. If you can get that out of a receiver, you want that. That's a Pro Bowl receiver if you're getting that per game. But you need that quick guy who plays inside, outside, in the slot, misdirection, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, goes deep and does a little bit of everything to be into the 143 catches. If you look at the season Marvin Harrison had when he put up that number, he played all over the place. Inside, outside, corner routes, deep routes, slant routes, crossing routes, you name it. He was running those kind of routes. Michael Thomas doesn't really have all of those dynamics in the game, as amazing he is at the wide receiver position. Career field goal attempts, 709. Record holder Morton Anderson. Adam Vinatieri could break it this year. He needs 20 field goal attempts to pass Anderson for the most in NFL history. The only time that he has attempted fewer than 25 was in 2019 campaign, Jeremy says, when he was injury shortened in that season. So that one looks like it will fall as well. Single season passing touchdowns by a player age 42 or older. Current record holder Warren Moon at 11. Tom Brady, obviously this year, if he has 12 passing touchdowns, he'll top the mark Moon set in 1998 for Seattle. Career sacks taken. Record holder is Brett Favre at 525 career sacks. The challenger this year, Ben Roethlisberger. Now, this one got me. If you think about this stat, the amount of time sacked and how many more seasons Brett Favre played before he set the record than Ben Roethlisberger has to this point in his career. I think it's 3 more seasons. Goes to show how truly good, whether you like him or not, Ben Roethlisberger has been at playing quarterback and getting out of situations for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because he has spent a lot of damn time on his back. He's losing weapons this year again that went to other teams. They're constantly rebuilding, constantly trying to retool, constantly trying to be a Super Bowl team there in Pittsburgh. And the mainstay for the last decade and a half almost has been Ben Roethlisberger. Getting beat up, standing up, taking the hit, being sacked. 25 sacks away. He's been sacked 500 times in his career. 501. 25 sacks gives him the record. Maybe at 526. That could easily happen with this year. If their receivers can't get open like Jeremy points to, they don't have AB. If Juju Schuster, they double him up and the other guys can't make plays, you could easily see that. They might be a 70-30 run-dominant team in Pittsburgh this year if those receivers don't come through and get themselves open. Single-season punting yards. This is another one he's just reaching on, I feel like. Dave Zastidle, 5,209 yards. Challenger, the Kansas City punter Matt Hack. And he went with this one pretty much because Arizona's punter led the league last year in punting and had the rookie quarterback, Rosen, there. And now Rosen's in Miami, Max in Miami. So he's just kind of falling on that one. I don't think that one's going to fall. Miami's going to be bad, but it takes a lot of punts, a lot of punting. And really, what punter wants that record? That means you're on the field all the time. That means your team sucks. So not really all of these records are positive either. So, Matt, I hope you actually don't get that one. Single season extra points made, 75. This one apparently is going to be really hard as well. Matt Prater holds the record at 75. Challenger, Harrison Buckner for Kansas City. Sorry, that previous Matt Hack plays for Miami, not Kansas City. I think I screwed that one up. But Harrison Butker for Kansas City. He says, so for Butker, the kicker of Kansas City, to break Prater's record of 75 extra points converted, the Chiefs will have to score at least 76 touchdowns in 2019, or 5 more than they did last year. Think about that. 5 more than that team scored last year. They would have to score this year for him to break that record. And attempt 0 2-point conversions, which would be 2 less than they did last year. Then Bucker has to make 76 extra points. No biggie for the kicker who led all booters in 2018 with 65 extra points. Good for 6th all time. And he also missed 4 extra points last year, which could have put him at 69, just shy of the record at 75. That's going to be tough. I don't honestly think that one's going to fall this year either. And then Super Bowl victories, record holder are the Patriots and the Steelers. And obviously the contender this year for that is the New England Patriots. So that's kind of a fun article that Jeremy Bergman put together there for NFL.com. As obligatory, some of those records and some of his guesses are, just as my top 5 and bottom 5. Next week, we will be switching to the offensive side of the ball. I'll hit the offensive line for all of these clubs. We'll hit centers, guards, tackles, and then key depth at the position. NBA free agency is upon us. NHL free agency starts, I believe, at midnight. It is upon us as well. Baseball, we're nearing the halfway point. We're nearing the All-Star break. So it's all love. It's all real. And until next time, you know how we do. Just be real.